Chapter 28. Jacinta. If the hive bosses were running off to hide on a recently contacted planet, then there were two possibilities, and they were both bad. The hive could be working with the locals openly and would have their support against any forces we sent. That could start a war. Or option two, they were flying under the radar there but still successfully enough to set up a stronghold they had confidence in. The question was how strong. For all we knew, they had enough backup on that planet to take on all comers. Was this worth jumping into? Khan thrust a tentacle into Loyal's face. You need to give us more info. It's off the station. No longer our problem. Now why were you trying to steal a terraforming bomb from crime lords in the first place? Loyal wore that innocent smile that I didn't trust. It was stolen from my family first, he said. I was the closest and best suited to getting it back. Khan crossed his tentacles in human-style irritation. Why not tell the authorities if it's as simple as that? Oh well, Loyal's smile slid. Some of your compatriots, cannot be trusted. Khan rolled his eyes. Gee, thanks. I stepped in. What was your family planning to do with it? Terraform a planet, of course, Loyal said. Don't worry, there are no native life forms. We checked. Not like these villains are liable to do. He waved a golden hand toward the doorway. They stole it from us just so they could do horrible things like this. Khan made a rude noise. You realize we only have your word on that? Well, yes. Loyal blinked. Why wouldn't that be enough? I said, you caused the lockdowns. Just as Khan said, you started a gang war on purpose. That part didn't go as planned, Loyal said. The hooligans were just supposed to make a small distraction. You can't blame that on me. Oh yes, we can, Khan insisted. At any rate, that's beside the point, Loyal blustered on. We can get the terraformer back. I have a personal teleportation device with a limited charge. You what? Khan shouted. Do you have any idea how illegal that is? Yes, Loyal said primly. Let me finish. Khan thrashed his tentacles and muttered, but he listened. I crossed my own arms and did the same. It can teleport a couple of people at once, Loyal continued, if they stand close. But it needs a target, which is the only reason I didn't pop into the hive's vault right away. Wouldn't that have been nice? Anyways, our best bet is to get someone close to the terraformer, with a tracer in hand, so I can zap it, and them, of course, away. Khan and I stared at him in silence while he looked surprised that we weren't immediately agreeing. And how do you propose we do that? Khan asked. When it's probably hidden away with the bosses on that distant planet? Ah, this is the fun part, Loyal said. I was willing to bet that he was wrong. We pretend to be small-time criminals, Loyal explained, approaching the big ones with a business proposition. What? I said flatly. Khan stood on the bare minimum of tentacles so he could cross the others in visible displeasure. Loyal kept talking, smiling directly at me. You would have the best chance to play the part, he said, since any background checks would find a mechanic instead of a cop or, well, me. I opened my mouth to ask about that, but he was still going. Specifically, you're a mechanic they don't know versus a cop not on their payroll. They'll be suspicious of any shady activity on his part since they've already discovered that he can't be bought. And don't I know it, Loyal added with a grin. But a mechanic might have unsanctioned devices. How do you know they've never approached me? I asked. That brought him up short. Have they? No, I admitted. But you shouldn't assume. Oh, well, that's fine then. He was off and planning again. So here's what we do. You get into the star field in my smallest ship. I can shut off the identification transmitters. Yes, I know that's illegal too. And you send them a message. Hello there. Are you interested in a seer repellent? Only I can operate it, but I'll share it for a good price. I'd use it on just myself, you know, but I'm sure you'll be up for that reasonable price. I ran a hand over my hair, sighing deeply. None of this was what I'd signed up for. You have a seer repellent too? Oh, Loyal laughed. No, that part is a lie. But I'm sure you can convince them. Telepathy blockers exist, after all. They work by brainwave detection, at least the ones I've seen. He rambled away on the subject, expression cheerful and metal skin shining under the artificial lights. I slid a look at Khan, hand still in my hair. His tentacles were twisted into pretzels with no direct human analog, but he looked unimpressed. That was about how I felt too. Underwhelmed, displeased, and gripped by the sinking feeling of, we'll have to actually do this, won't we? Khan, I said, interrupting Loyal's explanation about the bogus telepathy blocker. What are our odds of finding someone trustworthy who can go after them in an official ship? Something with a stealth field? He shook his octopus-like head. Garbage, he declared. They'd hear about it one way or another, and we're kidding ourselves if we think there are any quality ships still on board. I frowned. Good point. Loyal reached both hands out in entreaty. Yes, and if we wait for the seers to sift through everyone drifting about the space station, the hive will have hidden themselves away too deep to find. The seers won't blast into a newly contacted world's territory without going through diplomacy first. Time is on our enemy's side. Yes, it is, I allowed. And if somebody doesn't get the terraformer back from them, they'll almost certainly use it on innocents or sell it to people who will. And that someone must be us, Loyal said, beaming. Come, before they get settled into where our hailing frequencies might not reach. I didn't ask how Loyal knew the right hailing frequency to reach the hive, and without giving us away to anyone else nearby. The answer would definitely be something else illegal. I figured if the criminals asked, I'd be vague and say I bought the information. It was almost the truth. I just followed as Loyal pranced back toward the entrance. Khan fell in beside me. I'm coming too, he said. What? I asked. They'll suspect something. Only if they see me, he said. There will be plenty of compartments to hide in. I appreciate the backup, I said honestly, but you don't have to. Nope, doing it, he declared. I'm not going to watch my friend risk life and limb from a distance while I sit like a useless lump. And I'm the one who signed up to serve and protect, despite how little that vow seems to mean nowadays. If you're sure, I said. He nodded. Those sea squirts are responsible for all of the problems in my life right now. I'm coming. Then I'll be glad to have you. Let's go put one over on them together. We made our way back to the rapidly emptying spaceport with no one the wiser. While the crowds had thinned, they had also become more desperate and less likely to pay attention to us. No one even looked our way while Loyal opened up his gray cruiser and a small yellow station hopper that he swore was also his. He transferred a few belongings, then ushered me into the little lemon-looking thing and explained the controls. They were nothing I couldn't handle. Oh, and there was a shield on the hull to prevent a detailed scan of the ship, because of course there was. If Loyal was worried about the seers learning his own dirty secrets and illegal purchases, he hid it well. We prepared quickly. With my pack in one luggage compartment and Khan in another, a fake seer repellent at my elbow and Loyal in touch via good old-fashioned long-distance collar radio. Loyal had a private frequency for that, too. I was ready. I didn't ask about the radio. I also didn't confirm for myself that Khan and I were the only ones on our ship. But as it turned out, I probably should have. My last glimpse of Loyal caught a smile that had changed from jaunty to fierce. Chapter 29. Dragon. Dragon not see freeze guns, but notice problem when unable to move. People shout, fall, chaos. Jetpack engine loud. Fixer jet away to safety with good tentacle man running after. Shell man scream in anger, attack human. Both fall behind van. Dragon hear shell man hurting human, who must be traitor and deserving of hurts. Sounds stop. Distant jetpack and swearing of injured human only sounds. Dragon strain against invisible cage, wanting to sink teeth into villains with freeze guns. Want to rip and tear, but can't. Can only stare at floor while sharp hands tip Dragon onto hovercart like broken chair to be taken away. All others frozen too, except for bad tentacle man talking to air and human bleeding on floor. Dragon not get good look, but approve of that part. Deserve to bleed. Captors still invisible but move hovercart to van. Dragon try to move arm, to grab and crush but still frozen. Other frozen people crowded in with Dragon. Shellman, skinny purple thing, good bug man. No sign of escaped fixer or tentacle man. Van start up, drive quickly. Leave parking garage for roads, then other roads, then inside other building. Hovercarts moved through doors and hallways before freeze guns start to wear off. Dragon wonder if everyone in building is traitor. Would good ones yell about frozen people on carts? Pass aliens in uniform clothes who don't look twice, speaking English but useless. Dragon ready to be more angry, then see ripple in air when pass lights. Carts have hologram covers. People see something else, maybe flower pot or sculpture or food. Not all bad then, but not helpful now. Still frozen when reach destination. Another. Metal. Cage. With bars, no hard air to break through, no electricity to ruin and escape, just strong metal, strong even with power out. We'll see if strong enough, Dragon decide. Mentally snarl and test freeze again, still frozen, and even more annoying, human with cart zap Dragon again before shoving into cage. Obviously not want most powerful captive to free self. Snarl. Other frozen people put in cage on other side of room, piled on each other like child's toys. Dragon here no extra zaps for them. Weird aliens not strong enough to break cages then. Maybe we'll smart their way out when unfreeze. Or maybe Dragon will break everything instead. Want to. Traders with carts leave, lock door, walk away. Room silent. Dragon try to move every few seconds. We'll be ready when able to. First to unfreeze is Bugman. Dragon still not trust, despite being captive like others, but Bugman makes self-busy moving others into comfortable positions. Talk whole time in English with weird accent. Sound mad. Good. Maybe not traitor after all. Purple alien unfreeze next, followed by tiny shell man. Dragon jealous, but listen hard to be sure that shell man not hurt by traitor human. Not sound hurt. Angry enough to chew glass, but not hurt. Chatter away in own language. Rattle bars. Dragon would have laughed, but still frozen. Cheered up, though. Skinny alien calm shell man, then talk to Bugman about bad people fearing something. Dragon not know who talking about, but if seers arrive soon, then maybe not need to break cage. Still want to, and probably will anyway. But nice to know good people might come. Conversation take disturbing turn when Bugman point out things that bad people could do to hide from seers. Seem to think leaving space station best option. Dragon think this good idea until Bugman add that bad people might damage station, so everyone else have to leave too. More ships to hide among. Purple alien seem to think this will probably happen. Talk about it lots. Shellman test every bar of cage. Dragon keep trying to move against freeze. Going to break so many things. Chapter 30. Zephyr. None of the bars would move, and the floor was too solid to dig through. It seemed possible to me that Roka the translator could slip between the bars, but given that no one was suggesting it, maybe they were too close together for even that narrow body to fit through. The aliens talked in the same language Robin spoke. I had nothing to do but keep searching for an exit and hoping that Dragon's paralysis would wear off soon. I wonder if Dragon can break free of his own cage when it does, I thought. The smugglers and their allies certainly seemed to think he could. I'd heard our jailers zap him a second time when we were being unloaded. Hopefully it wasn't a health risk. I also hoped that the two new friends who appeared to have escaped were safe somewhere, but I couldn't do anything about it either way, so I focused my attention on the friends in the room. While I'd been initially excited to realize that our captors had never checked our various pockets for useful devices, I came to realize that these paralysis guns seemed to affect electronics too. Both of the aliens produced handheld communicators that had been reduced to doorstops. The human and her bag of tools were long gone, though most of that would likely have been rendered useless as well if she'd been captured. Roka did have a handkerchief that she gave me to wipe off the smears of blood on my claws, which I hadn't noticed. She didn't want it back afterwards. I left it in a corner and didn't regret littering. This place smelled like rocks and alien body odor. Roka and the good Bugman, Viter, I think it was, seemed to be trying to think of something to do with the broken communicators when a shockingly loud siren tore the air. Red lights pulsed through the room. A voice spoke from loudspeakers, saying something that must have been important, judging by the startled looks on their faces. Before the announcement was over, Viter was on his feet, trying desperately to reach the lock on the outside of the door with his pointy forearms. Roka talked quickly, but not to me. I didn't interrupt. A glance across the room showed Dragon still frozen in place, lying on his side like a large, scary statue. He probably understood the announcement, but he couldn't explain it to me either. The siren was still going. That and the red lights made it hard to think. Trying to breathe deeply and think useful thoughts didn't get me much. I watched the alien attack the lock. Before he could so much as dent it, footsteps raced up to the door. Vitter pulled back inside the bars as the door banged open. Humans and bug people flowed in with carts and paralysis guns. I tried to dodge, maybe hide behind someone else, but they were good shots, and I was soon laid out on the floor again with aliens on top of me. Then I was transferred to a cart, on top of the aliens this time. At least it was a change of pace. Poor dragon, I thought as we were shoved out the door. He never got to break anything, and they're probably zapping him again. I couldn't hear any zaps over the alarm. All I could make out were footsteps, shouting, and the distant bang of doors. My view was decent, lying on my side. I watched walls flash past, and people of all species run in every direction. It took a masterful effort not to dissolve into a gibbering panic. Not that that would have changed anything, frozen as I was. We left the narrow hallways for a bigger room. After a few moments, I spotted hover cars. This was another garage. One where everyone involved seemed to be throwing things haphazardly into vehicles like they only had minutes left to clear the building. I hadn't thought I could be more worried, but I was wrong. A door banged open ahead of us, and the driver of the cart sped up to slam the front end into the car's bumper, neatly depositing the pile of frozen captives into the storage area. I wound up wedged in a corner with barely enough space to breathe. Then the door shut behind us, and all was dark. The alarm continued, somewhat muffled. Engines started. The loudspeaker said something new. People shouted. The car took off at a speed that piled the lot of us against the rear door. I didn't know where we were going, but at the moment, I was more concerned with whether we would survive the trip there.